Normally, summits and world leaders, sometimes they might not speak the same language, or if one does, they might have certain difficulties, with expressing each other. But here, I think it's important that the two leaders spoke Korean, and there was no barrier. They could sit like that on the bridge.
That's right.
What do you think of those two leaders' performances during the day?
This is exactly what we want, because we don't have to rely on the translator. They speak on the same language, and we just can find, by the way, looking at his eyes and face, you can tell whether he's really genuine or not, whether he's faking. So this is a really good moment by the two leaders, and I hope they will talk about this kind of private talks later on. But I think this is the only way that the two leaders, not their entourage, but the leaders themselves can confirm whether they really mean business or not. So I think that's really most important moment, the climax of yesterday's whole event, lasting like almost 12 hours. Yes. Yeah.
I mean, one part of me wants to know what they said, but another part of me wants to keep the mystery so they don't tell us what it is. So, we may never know, we might know, but we will never really know because we go out there at the time. But I still think it was a very iconic moment and something that will last long in our memories. Now, of course, after that, they went back to the Peace House to sign the declaration between the two countries. That is obviously why they were there. That's the reason for the summit. They came out, and then they came out to the Peace House to sign this agreement. If we look at the pictures now, I think we can see them. They looked again very calm. Before the second summit meeting in the afternoon, it was actually, as I said, only about 15 minutes. I don't think it was a real summit meeting. I think it was just to say, right, let's do this. Let's sign this. Are you ready? I mean, as I said again, they looked very, very calm, shaking hands, very happy. I want to ask you, Professor, you've read the declaration now. We've all read the declaration.
Yes, I did.
They've called it a new era for peace. What do you make of the declaration? Was there any part of the declaration that really stood out to you?
Yes, a couple of them. We're beginning with the denuclearization. Let me quote this one, because South and North Korea confirmed the common goal of realizing, through complete denuclearization, a nuclear-free Korean peninsula. Because people tend to just put stress on whether there is a CVID or not. But I think complete is the first part of the most important part of CVID, because I and V and ID will come later on quite naturally. But the first wording, the complete, is very important. And the second part, a nuclear-free Korean peninsula. This is the concept that we've been talking about for the last 2 or 3 years, 22 or 3 decades rather. So nuclear-free zone is very important. Not just nuclear-free Korean peninsula, but nuclear-free Northeast Asian. But this is something that cannot be accepted by Russia or China. But by the way, these are the key of the agreements yesterday from my perspective. Another one that I can mention is turning the NLL line, the area, into a maritime peace zone. This is something that we have been talking about for the last several. And anytime we had the big naval clash, like Yeonpyeong-do or Baekhyun-do, it was always along the NLL, because North Korea did not and still has not recognized this line, because it was drawn by the United Nations Command as an extension of MDL that you just crossed yesterday. So they were saying by the equidistance, equisize rather, I don't know whether they're going to translate this way, but they have a totally different line. So this is the source of clashes, naval clashes and fishing clashes over the last several years. So we understand when there is a possible merit kind of accidents, it is not on the land, but rather on the seas. Again, this is a very important sign, but I think there's many people who are worried about whether we're really ready to turn this area into a peace zone. But we have a lot of illegal fishing activity by the Chinese fishermen, and because North Korea has actually sold off the kind of rights for the Chinese. But I think we have to give the freedom and more money to North Korean fishermen to come down to this area, both North and South Korea. They can catch as many fish as possible. So this is another very important in the military sense. Very important.
So that's a new point that you feel like has come up on this declaration.
Yes, because this definitely surprised many people, particularly in the Navy, because this is something we have been discussing for the last 2 decades, right?
But I think some of the criticism that are coming out today is the fact that actually there's not a lot of new things in this declaration.
That's right. These are all the things that have been done in the, let me say, beginning with the July 4th Declaration, even 1972, 45 years ago. And we have 1991, 92 basic agreements on the, what you call the reconciliation, non-aggression, and, you know, I think it's like cooperation and something like that. So we have a basic agreements. We have all kind of joint declaration, like June 16th and October 4th. So we have a very important documents already, but most of them have not been, you know, implemented. And so that's the problem. We have to work again with more sincerity.